Paul Stevens, the CEO of Premium Mid-Scale Economy for Middle East, Africa and Turkey.
Thank you very much for your time here today. Can you tell us a little bit more about Accor's sustainability initiative worldwide?
Sure, so sustainability is nothing new for Accor. We've been working on this for over 10 years so far. So for us to take this next step with Novotel and really pioneering the care of the ocean really is another bow in our arrow rather than just trying to start from scratch. So if we go back to looking after the environment as a whole, we've pioneered taking single-use plastic out of our hotel rooms, so you'll never find single-use plastic anywhere. And obviously the impact that has on saving the ocean and mentoring that healthy ocean is substantial because out of the million sea creatures that get caught up in plastic every year that we know of, at least in the ocean, 80% of that plastic comes from land-based fill. So if we can reduce the plastic that's going into that land-based fill, obviously less goes into the ocean or has the possibility to go in the ocean. So that's a byproduct and a positive byproduct of not the only one, but of single-use plastic. Then we look at energy saving because energy in the future obviously is going to get more expensive, and not only that, the production of the majority of energy in our region at the moment is done with fossil fuels, which is, as we know, not great for the environment at all. So we've actually undertaken a huge program with our GMs to train them how to, first of all, plan the capital expenditure in their hotels. Not the most sexy topic, but something that's really important for reducing carbon in the future. So they can present those plans to their owners who have to invest in that over the next 5 to 7 years. So we're two years into that project. So effectively in 7 years we will have reduced as much as we can out of the hotels from a mechanical point of view, and obviously from a human point of view about 14% of the savings we can do is already in place right now. So doing a lot regarding stewardship and pioneering the sustainable future of not just our hotels and the imprint they have on the environment, but also the environment of the people that we have with us. So we go through quite an extensive training program with our teams. So not only will they make a difference within the hotel, but inside the societies and the communities that they live and work in, they'll spread that word. So that multiplies. We have 22,000, we call them artists or team members in our region, and they've got 10 friends and 10 relatives, etc. So immediately we get down to 3 or 4 million people that are getting a similar message about how important it is. Just the simple things we can change in our life to make a big difference to the environment.
And then moving to Novotel, which is why we're here today, why the ocean?
Well, Novotel decided that they really wanted to focus on one part of the environment to make a really big push. Many of our Novotels are close to the ocean, whether it's a resort, whether it's here in Dubai where we've got the ocean surrounding us basically. So it's an important factor in all our hotel and our brand DNA. So to hook up with WWF, which is obviously a global brand, very well respected, for us was a bit of a coup. So we've been working with them for 12 months on different projects that actually make a difference. Not just talking about it, not just promoting the relationship, but actually getting in there and making sure that whatever we do as a team moving forward does make a difference. So one of those aspects is the ocean and what we can do about sustainability of the seafood that comes out that we then serve to our customers. And really, before we had this relationship with Seafood Souk, it was a bit of a mystery. Some of the seafood was labelled, absolutely, and some of it was probably correctly labelled, but many of it was either incorrectly labelled or ambiguously labelled, and it probably wasn't anyone's fault. It was just never an area that no one had looked at. So with this relationship with Seafood Souk, now we can trace exactly where this seafood is sourced from and make sure it's coming from sustainable sources. And if you look at I think what the guest will think of the fact that they know where this piece of beautiful seafood, whether it's fish or prawns or lobster, comes from, and they know it's sustainably farmed, so they can actually say comfortably that their input and their effect on the climate and the environment is minimalised by the fact that this is a replenishable resource.
And then food is such a huge part of what we do in hospitality. What have you done towards sustainability for food?
Well, it really hooks very nicely in with our seafood traceability, because what we really want to do is first of all measure the waste. Okay, we know in the world that 30% of the food produced actually gets wasted, which is an atrocious number if you think about it. So in our business we have an opportunity to reduce that waste quite a lot. So what we did is we started measuring it. 2.5 years ago we said, okay, let's measure the waste that goes in the bin that's getting thrown away. It's funny, if you ask any chef in the world if they waste food, no, I don't do that. But the reality is they don't even notice, because they've been trimming things. So to elevate the understanding, not just in the kitchen, but all over the business, all over the hotels, about how critical reducing food waste is. I mean, the food waste that goes into the garbage tin, goes into the plastic bag, goes into the dump, then emits terrible methane that goes into the environment, which is 20 times worse than the cars that we drive up and down. So really important to reduce that. So the first option was to measure it and then reduce it. And then what we're trying to do with seafood particularly, but not just seafood, is really changing people's mind into what they can put on the plate. Plant forward is what we call it. It's a bit of a movement. We're not trying to change people's idea about what they should eat. We're not dictating what they should eat. We're saying there are alternatives, and on our menus we'll put the majority of our over 50% in the next 2 years of opportunities that have plant-forward options, which basically on one side of the menu says this is what the carbon calculation is for this dish, and then giving people options. Okay, I'm comfortable eating this dish that has this carbon imprint, or I'm preferring to at this stage to reduce that by choosing another option. And it's really about escalating and making a really good impression of plant forward. So things that come seasonally, things that are grown locally, things that are grown without insecticide or pesticide, and giving people the options to eat that. And that's quite a new movement. And we know it's not going to happen overnight, but the point is we've started. We're training our chefs right now and it's a new skill for chefs to have, so they're excited. Our food and beverage teams and GMs are now on board. We're using external suppliers to give us that technology and that knowledge now. So we're making the movement. It's started. So in the next 2 years, as I said, 50% of our menus will be basically either plant forward, so giving the option of more plants, more localized food on the plate with a smaller piece of protein, and also labelled down the side with how much carbon that's actually emitting.
And then lastly, what do you hope the future holds for Accor in terms of responsible hospitality?
Well, I think we're known as far ahead of our competitors now. That's the reality, but it's still not good enough. We want to get to the point where we're having the least amount of footprint on the environment in which we work and operate. And that's not just the hotel, it's the communities around the hotel as well, because we've got a part to play in making sure that this world is sustainable for our future. From a business point of view, sure, but also from a human point of view. We're a big player. We have over 300,000 employees. We can make a big difference, not because we have to, but because we should.
Thank you so much for your time, and all the best with the rest of the day.
Great, pleasure.